I kind of have a talent for finding pieces
Yeah.
and then seeing different uses for them, and then
So
you know,
these are
kind of,
all, they start out as their own action figure, and then you
yeah, yeah,
dismember them, put
yeah.
them back
So
together with.
the arms on this guy, I kind of have.
Welcome back to the Alternative Highs podcast, the #1 podcast in Southwestern Ontario. That is just a fact. Quick PSA for you. 75% of you that are watching are not subscribed. Hit that subscribe button. It doesn't cost you anything, and it helps me get into the algorithm. With that, on with the show. Today's podcast is with my old neighbor. We've chatted many times. Eclectic man, we'll call him. Mike Thain. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, anytime. I've always been, I didn't even know about this part of you.
Oh, okay.
But when we were first meeting, it was, I don't even think we met at the apartments. I think we met at the coffee shop.
Yeah,
first.
yeah.
You
I
and your
mean, we
wife.
knew each other, I think, what we looked like. So
Yeah.
when we saw each other at the coffee shop,
Yeah.
we're like, oh, that's my neighbor.
Tell me about Mike before this part. What got you into this?
I used to joke that G.I. Joe and I were born the same year, and I always had like toy soldiers and G.I. Joes, and I don't know, it used to irritate me when I was a kid because they always had these limitations. So it wasn't too long before I started trying to figure out how to modify and add things to them. So
Were you doing that as a kid?
yeah, so I could play with them better. Yeah, I had my family jokes about I had just this little robot thing, and the gimmick was that the heads were interchangeable. Well, somewhere I lost the head, so I got him my dad's toolbox in the garage and found some epoxy glue and a 10-speed brake pad. And so then that looked cool and robot-y on this thing, so I glued it in the socket where the head was supposed to go. And when I first started, I didn't realize that anybody had remembered it, and I'd certainly forgotten. But when I started doing this again seriously, my sister remembered 10-speed brake head man, and it was just like I've always done this. I've always added things cool to my action figures and modified them. And I was doing it when I met my wife. I was doing it,
yeah.
And this is 30 plus years ago. We're celebrating our 30th wedding anniversary this year in August.
Congratulations.
Yeah. So when I was doing it, and she thought I was crazy because she didn't think anyone else on the planet did it. I had to wait 3 or 4 years into the time together to get the internet so I could go on the internet and show her that there were people that were actually taking their toys apart and putting them back together to look different. And she's like, the first time I showed her, she just looked at me and said, I thought you were insane. And no, well, maybe, but I'm not the only one, I guess. So
what were you doing before? Like, what did you do? What was your career?
I worked at just about anything you can get paid to do. And, I've worked in restaurants. I worked at Ford for 15 years in Windsor. And around 2010, the manufacturing started to get tricky in Ontario. So they were offering buyouts. So I took it. I've worked with people with disabilities, intellectual and developmental disabilities. I was an axe throwing coach for a while. A pretty good axe throwing coach.
No kidding.
Yeah. So I've done, I don't know, a jack of all trades, I guess.
How did you find out that you were a good axe thrower?
I was doing a show in London. I used to do shows and try and sell action figures and like a lot of pop culture mashups. Mickey Mouse heads on stormtrooper bodies, and people seem to enjoy that. And so I sold a lot of that stuff. But I was at a show in London, at London Music Hall, and it was the first and only ever Rockin' Con. And we were there, and I saw a guy that I'd seen on TV. There used to be this kind of Canadian thrifting show called Backwoods Bounty or something like that. And two hosts, one guy was from Ingersoll, and the other guy was actually from London. And I was getting lunch, and I saw him. I'm like, hey, you're the guy from the TV. What are you doing here? And he said, oh, I'm with my friends who were throwing axe. They was a London axe throwing place, and he was there with his friends. And so I went back and mentioned, hey, he's here with those axe throwing guys. And my wife went, axe throwing? because she's always been into like any like Tomb Raider movie or anything like that. You know, the Resident Evil movies, like any fierce woman. My wife is all over that.
Yep.
So when she found out you could actually learn how to throw axes, she thought that was really cool. So she spent most of the weekend at the axe throwing place talking to the booth, talking to these guys, and decided she wanted to go there for her birthday. She's having a kind of a big birthday, and she wanted to do that axe throw for her birthday.
Naturally.
And her brother kind of talked her out of, oh, mom and dad aren't going to want to go, this, that, and the other thing. We'll have the birthday at my place. And then the 2 days before her birthday, he called her and went, I'm not going to be home that weekend. You can't come to my house. So I said, all right, fine. She actually had friends that owned a tree arborist company. So we got a big ring from a tree, and I hung it in a tree in the backyard. And I bought her, and I had purchased an axe at a yard sale as a joke for $5. Well, I sharpened it all up and painted the head pink for her. And we had her birthday in our backyard throwing axes at the tree. So, and then I kind of really enjoyed it, and then just happened to be on Facebook. I threw axes in my backyard for a couple of years before somebody moved into town with an axe throwing place, and I went and talked to the guy and threw some axes, and he liked my technique, and then I wound up the go-to guy if we were having somebody that struggled, you know, throwing. I taught an 8-year-old girl to throw, or a 12-year-old girl to throw an axe one time. And stick it in the target. I taught this woman, she was had some disabilities and kind of really was in a wheelchair and, you know, one kind of functional arm. And I had her throwing, and she loved it so much. It took me a little bit, but I said, we'll figure it out. And, you know, within 15 minutes, she was sticking axes in the target and had so much fun. She came back 3 or 4 times and brought friends.
It's so funny. You've seen me try to walk around. I'm very unbalanced.
So
when that axe throwing came to Chatham, I went there with some friends, and it was a little bit of a scare the first couple throws. I remember I didn't get nowhere near, because when I go to step in, I would go off the edge. And I remember my friend having to duck out of the way real quick. I
actually taught a blind guy to throw axes.
That'd be terrifying.
It was pretty cool.
Yeah, I bet. For him, it'd be really cool. To hear that heard out loud, it was a little terrifying.
Because they could bounce, right? I saw some wicked bounces. I had some wild bounces.
Oh, 100%.
I was working on trick shots and stuff. And so
through the legs. Try to.
And I would. Well, because I don't know. I was working on some long triple rotation throw or something, and I don't know, hit the head, and it came straight back. It chased me all the way to the front door. The axe sliding across the floor, and me legging it, trying not to get hit.
Oh, that's funny. So I'm going to come back to these because I can't stop staring. This one over your shoulder right here with the top hat on. My favorite.
That's I don't know. I kind of have a talent for finding pieces and then seeing different uses for them, and then
these are all, they start out as their own action figure, and then you dismember them, put them back together with
the arms on this guy. That's there's a company, or Hasbro does Marvel superhero toys called Marvel Legends, and then every once in a while they'll do what they call a build-a-figure wave, where every figure they'll do like a Captain America, and then he'll have a leg or an arm or a head or whatever, and you can build a bigger thing that they don't have to like make a special big box for. And those arms, they're actually pretty rare, and I bought one from a guy in town who used to do some wheeling and dealing with toys, and mentioned that I had the other hand at home already, and that's why I needed to buy this one from him. He had 2 of, I think, this hand. He had 2 of those, and I was bogarting the fist at home, and I told him I had the fist, and that's why I needed this one. Well, he had 2 of these, but he didn't have the fist, and he was mad that I was going to do that with it and not sell it to him to put the body, like the actual build-a-figure together. But so I just and that was the thing. I used to when I first started doing shows, people didn't realize that I had put these things together. They thought that, you know,
You bought it that way.
yeah, and then I was just selling something.
Where can we get these?
Oh, well, I have in our apartment, my wife and I have a very nice apartment in an old
I love your apartment.
house on LaCroix Street, and I have a room, and I call it the Doll Museum, which is a little bit misleading because they aren't really dolls, but
It's a cool name.
yeah, it just because like the people that collect this stuff, there's like a kind of a huge split down the middle where some guys they're so masculine that they can't be thought of as playing with dolls, and they get they're not dolls, they're action figures, and
They're
I don't
dope is what they are.
yeah, I don't really care what you call them, because like to me they're just, you know, they're fun.
Art?
Yeah, art, they're fun
Passion?
things. Yeah,
What you enjoy to
yeah,
do?
yeah, and that was I got into making this kind of my own characters, because when I first started doing it, I was buying like 1/6 scale portrait heads,
Yeah.
and they would come cast in white resin. And I remember, I don't know, about 25 years ago, I saw online somebody was selling. He had like Bruce Willis from Die Hard and
Yep.
and John Wayne and Kurt Russell and all these, you know, and he was selling for $10 a head, and he put 4 in a box and mailed them to me for $5, and I got all excited and, you know, sent away for 4 heads, and they showed up and they were white resin, and I'm like, oh,
That's not good.
now I need to learn how to paint.
Yeah.
So that was kind of a
Nice.
journey. But what happened was the people that make those heads, they kind of became rock stars to the people like me that you know buy the heads. The price just started going up and up and up, and you know, I don't. The last head I bought from like a private sculptor, it cost me $100 US.
Jeez Louise.
And that was when like the dollar was like it is now, so that was really 140
Yeah.
US, plus he charged me $30 shipping, and
Yeah.
you know, and it was like,
You got
oh,
a
it's getting
$200 head.
yeah, it's getting too expensive. Then I got to buy a body and source clothing and
That sounds like
whatever. So I'm like, okay, I can't really afford, because I just taken the buyout from Ford, and you know, didn't have the
wanna be
disposable.
thrifty.
Yeah,
You wanna
didn't
make
have
sure
the
you can live.
disposable income. Then I started just, oh well, what kind of character can I make if I, you know, find a head in some weird head in a bag at Value Village, or you know, what kind
I
of
was gonna
characters?
say, you do a lot of thrifting with
Yeah,
it?
you
What,
know, and
what would be next for you for these action figures?
yeah, I think what I'd like to do is like this one's got a cool background.
That
This-
thing is so cool.
I call it the Last Clown. It's like he's like it's kind of a riff on that Postman movie with Kevin Costner, where the world has collapsed and
Yep.
society's, you know, broken up into these little villages here and there. And he, instead of being a postman that's delivering all this old mail, he's a guy that goes around and puts on shows for the kids in the little societies, and
Yep.
that's how he gets food and whatever, and you know, and it was just basically, it was just, I love the post-apocalyptic stuff because you can put anything on them, right? And as long as it's dirty and utilitarian, you can, you know, it fits. So, you know, that's kind of what,
Get more into
Yeah,
building one
yeah.
with backgrounds.
yeah, and that's the thing. They kind of tell me, you get to a point where it's like, you know, it's like almost like an actual person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, okay, well, what would this character that I've created, what would he carry? What would he need to wear? You know what I
I
mean?
like the golf bag.
Yeah.
Holding everything.
Yeah, and that was kind of the start of it, because I bought the golf bag, and it had some screwy looking golf clubs, but the golf bag was the right size.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, that would be a perfect, you know what I mean? Because I'm always like trying to figure out what packs
What you
and
gotta-
different things they got to use to carry their stuff from place to place. And the golf bag was perfect, right? You find that, dump
I
the
like
golf
that a
clubs out, and put all your tools in there that you need for scavenging and surviving. But
I love that. It's so cool. What, so how long have you been in Chatham for?
3.5 years.
So in the last 3.5 years, you made it around a little bit.
Yeah.
What's your perspective on Chatham-Kent's artistic theme, I guess?
Well, that was the thing. My wife and I, we spent, I knew a lot of people in Chatham from doing right? There used to be, well, Left Wing Tattoo over on William Street. When that first opened, had my friend Craig managed it, and they used to do art shows and concerts. So I had met a few artists in town going to those because they'd announce a theme. We're going to do women in industry, right? And then that was it. And then everybody get a month to work on something. So that was the first place I ever actually displayed any of my art. And that would have been 13 years ago, because I have a picture of me at the opening with Sophia in my arms, and she's 13 now. So I met some artists from town, but I didn't really develop any relationships with them because, we'd come over and do an art crawl and then go home. And I wasn't really participating. It was just I knew friends, and then the things at Left Wing stopped, so I kind of stopped participating. But we moved over here, and I don't know. I had those people over for a coffee one afternoon, like a welcome me to Chatham. You know what I mean? Come on over and see the new place. We'll have a cup of coffee. And then we realized that we were closer in proximity, and so we could get together and stuff. So I don't know. I started, have coffees with them. And then because of that, right, like I was getting out and meeting more people. And we met Meg and Pat from Deep Southwest, and we'd seen them a couple of times. And when they put out a call for extras, I ran, like I'm going to help, because I'd seen we went to the Red Barn and saw their pitch for their Kickstarter, where they played all the songs from the show and then laid out the story. I had originally thought, oh, these guys are too cute. This is going to be some, some cutesy little show. But then I realized how funny it was going to be, and I wanted to be a part of it. And I just thought, okay, you know what, I'm going to wedge myself into
I'm big fans of them. Yeah,
I'm going to wedge myself into, and so I did that, and I went and helped them and did a couple of different characters as extras in the show. And if you look, I'm all over episodes 4 and 5. And then from there, I don't know. So that helping Meg and Pat and getting to be friends with them, and then because I was in Chatham again, and hanging out with these other artists that I knew, I was doing more art, and I had a hip replacement in December of 2024, and was laid up for a few weeks, and to try and get me through that, I made a bunch of art. And
I think that's right around the time I met you.
Yeah. And so I made while I was stuck in the house and recuperating, I was working on some big weird pieces that I eventually submitted for Eye for Art at the gallery. It's a biannual.
Yep.
It'll be
cool.
Again this year.
Cool.
Yeah. So
I think we're gonna try and get another art crawl going here, maybe at some point. What was it called? Eye for Art.
Eye for Art.
What was Eye for Art like?
It was amazing. I had again, because I'm here, and I seem to be closer to kind of the cultural hub with friends and things, people I'm helping out with and stuff. I was excited to submit some pieces I think I had done in the past and didn't get anything accepted, but I had these 3 brand new pieces that I did while I was recuperating from my hip surgery. I just, took some photos and took the pieces over, I guess, and then waited for them. And I submitted 3 pieces, got all 3 pieces accepted. And then I actually won a Juror's Choice Award for one of my pieces, which was pretty exciting. Came with a $500 check and a little certificate,
that's cool.
Which is kind of, it's.
We'll have to get a picture of that so we can throw it into the.
It was called Christ the Receiver, and it's just this kind of big. It's a big old-fashioned radio with kind of the antenna is kind of made into a crucifix, and then there's a figure with a radio tube for a head. Again, I couldn't afford an actual head to put on it, so I put a radio tube on. But it's kind of like, it's just a little goof on, what do we worship, or who do we worship now? You know what I mean? And it's just, those are the kind of themes that if I'm like doing what I call serious art, I kind of like poke, things.
There a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay, I'm just receiving some pictures of your piece here. That is cool. Oh, is that film wrapped
Yeah, they're
around?
film strips. I managed to see. I'm an inveterate scrounger, so I've managed to find a box of old Sunday school film strips, and I spent an afternoon going through all of the film strips in the case, and just finding the ones that illustrated the life of Jesus.
That is amazing.
So then I just put those, and it's
People with artistic, creative people are the most amazing souls. None of this would ever come to mind.
yeah.
I don't have a creative bone in
Yeah. I don't know.
This is amazing.
Thank you. Thanks.
This is really
Thank you. It's fun. I love it. It's fun. I got to keep it because I struggle to sell those pieces.
Yeah.
So my apartment is full of kind of weird things
Hey,
hanging
man,
on
you
walls
ever
and
want a
hanging on,
place to store some stuff?
hanging
I
on
got some
tables.
space
Yeah,
behind me.
yeah. Well, I've got some. Yeah, I have some. I'll let you know. Because I'm doing the studio tour.
Yeah.
The artist studio tour at the end of May, and I'm really struggling because I do these, and then I do like weird art like Christ the Receiver, and I'm kind of struggling to what to display. But,
So if somebody wants to get you to make them something, how do they get in touch with you?
what am I? You can find me on Instagram, Mike Thain Toy Butcher on
Yeah.
Instagram. If you look up Toy Butcher, you can usually find me because. Oh God, I don't even remember how many years ago, but I met a guy. I was at the 4-H toy show and I had a table,
Yeah.
and so I met a guy and he did an interview of me, but the interview never came out. It didn't come out for years, and then as a consolation, because he was fighting with the guy who owned the company that did the interview, as a consolation, he made this kind of crazy logo and he called me the Toy Butcher.
Okay.
And then I got all excited and took the logo and made business cards, and it was an immediate hit at the next show. Oh, Toy Butcher, that's brilliant! Everybody loved it,
it
and
is
it's
cool.
just. And I have had.
It all makes sense to me. now.
Yeah, yeah, and I've had people shout it out in the grocery store.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
like from
that.
he just hears, "Hey, Toy Butcher," and I'll look and it'll be somebody, or I'll be walking down the aisles at like CK Expo or the 4-H toy show, and all these like used toy vendors know me, so it's the Toy Butcher.
Yeah.
That's
cool.
Do I have anything you need? And so then I'll go through
I like that a lot.
their bins.
Yeah. Display it all.
Yeah, yeah.
Just display it all. Well, Mike, I appreciate your time today.
Thank
This
you.
was a lot of fun.
I had a lot of fun too.
I honestly, it's funny how long we lived right side by side,
yeah.
had coffee, and
Yeah.
I knew none of this.
Yeah.
This was fascinating.
Thanks.
I
Thank
now
you.
know why you're the Toy Butcher.
Thank
and
you.
I don't know why I never thought to ask. Maybe I knew that we'd be sitting for a podcast. We've
Yeah.
talked about doing
Yeah,
this
yeah,
many
we did.
times.
I remember, what was that? Oh, at the Deep Southwest. I remember we talked at the after party. We talked about you were going to try and get some artists and do it.
Better late than never.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks so much. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Peace and love. Welcome